You are listening to the Bright Life Podcast, all about ways to stay inspired, chase your dreams, and find more gratitude in the highs and lows of the journey. I'm your host, Jessica Johnson. I'm a business owner, a part-time digital nomad, a self-growth junkie, a believer in other big-hearted women, and am all about sharing tips, tricks, lessons learned, and encouragement so we can all live our biggest, brightest lives. You ready? Let's do this. Hello, my friend. Welcome to this week's episode. I think I have a really great topic for you this week. So every time before I do these podcast episodes, sometimes I know exactly what I'm going to say. I've been thinking about it all week. And sometimes I ask myself, what do I feel like needs to be shared today? Like, what do my people need to hear? What are they thinking about? And this is one of those weeks where I really just felt like this is the message to share. So I don't know who needs to hear this, but what I wanted to talk to you today about is permission to trust yourself, to feel the fear and do it anyway, permission to trust your instincts and your gut if you are feeling like you want something but you're afraid to actually go for it. There's so much around that. And I think so many of us are waiting for this sign or this answer or a stronger feeling or more just comfort around making a leap and a decision. And I just want to remind you that oftentimes you'll be waiting a long time if you're waiting to feel 100% comfortable or waiting for something outside of you to give you permission around wanting something, being worth something, making the investment in yourself, whatever it may be. So I have a few ideas around this. Sometimes I feel like you can get clarity on what you want to do by flipping a coin. And that sounds super lame, right? You're like, oh, thanks, a coin's going to tell me my answer. But it's not about the coin. What it's about is in that moment before the coin lands, you get clarity on exactly what you want or what you don't want. Once you see that coin land and it gives you an answer, how you feel about that answer, I believe, is your decision, is your answer right there. It's the feeling, it's the desire that you have, not the actual outcome that's being made or provided for you. Something that I've really had to learn on my journey is that either choice is good. Like either desire is good. So for me, sometimes like even thinking about what do I want to do for business or a major, like in college, I went back and forth a million times on what major to choose. When starting a business, right? Like there's that hesitation around, well, what do I do? How do I know it's the right choice? Should I leave corporate America or should I stay? Is it going to work? What I believe is like either way would be good. You are the creator of your life, of your thoughts, of your actions, of the results that you get from those thoughts and beliefs and actions. And so almost like remove the pressure around making the right choice and just trust that whatever you truly want in your heart, like whatever that desire is, your desires are good. Amanda Frances, who coaches on money and finance and abundance, you can find her on Instagram, but she talks a lot about this notion of like your desires are given to you by God. And she doesn't mean God in, one certain sense. So whatever your word is for it, right? Like the universe, life, your heart, inner guidance, whatever. But she really changed my belief system around desire and almost the feeling I had of wanting to desire the right thing, quote unquote. And instead that all my desires are good. All my desires are given to me by some higher power. And so I can trust my desires. I can trust that they're okay. And if it seems like two different paths would be even, but you kind of want one more than the other, you don't have to overthink that. You can trust your desires. Your desires are good. Your desires are given to you for a reason. Another thing that I like to ask myself in situations like this is, if you really don't feel like you know what to do, what would you do if you did know? And if you can just ask yourself that and sit with it, an answer probably arises, right? So that's something that I use whenever I'm playing this game with myself of like, I don't really know, like either way would be good. If you did know, what would be the answer? If you did know, what would you do? And I think that cuts through all the talk and clutter in your head, and it gets you to that gut and feeling in your soul or in your body that just says, quietly is just waiting there for the chance to be invited into the conversation, but truly deep down kind of knows the answer. Another way you can think about this, and this is from Sarah Blakely, who I talk about a lot. She's the founder of Spanx, an amazing businesswoman. I admire her for a lot of different reasons about how she runs her business and her life and like her leadership style. But she says that one thing that she has asked herself in her career is, if no one was telling me how to do this, how would I do it? And she'll sit and she'll have all the meetings and all the calls and all the advisors and everything. And then she goes in her office and she sits and she just asks herself that question. If no one was telling me to do this, how would I do this? I absolutely love that, because we've talked before about starting businesses, or just all the temptation out there to follow a certain strategy or a certain path, or to do it someone else's way. And while I think that you can have teachers who are so beneficial and you can save yourself tons of time by having a coach or a mentor show you a path that works, if it feels aligned to you and true for you, there's also something to be said for, at the end of the day, how would you do it if no one was telling you? And I think you're going to get some creative inspiration, creative ideas. You might have something that feels super out of the blue, but at the same time, it's right for you. So I think that's another thing that you can ask yourself. If no one was telling you how to do this, what would you do? One other question that I've used throughout my life over and over again is, if you weren't afraid, what would you do? So I've talked about being in New York and having like the craziest day ever and things just going wrong, one thing after the other, and then being so excited to move there, but laying awake at night thinking, can I do this? Like, can I actually move my life here and do this crazy city? And just that feeling coming to me of like, well, what would you do if you weren't afraid? And instantly I would leave everything behind and I would go and be along for the adventure and the journey of this city and all that it would bring. And it was the most hectic year of my life, but it was amazing too. And it all came down to, what would I do if I wasn't afraid? And then same for leaving corporate America to start my business. I was terrified. It wasn't that I was super brave and just naturally did it. No. I was so scared. But I kept coming back to that question of, if I wasn't afraid of failing, what would I do? What would I go for? What do I not want to look back on wondering what could have been? I talked about this recently on my friend Kim Argetsinger's podcast, so definitely go check that out. It's called The One Question, and we go really deep on that. But if you weren't afraid, what would you do? There's so many people who talk about this. Marie Forleo says the key to success is to start before you're ready. I 100% believe that. And Hugh Laurie says it's a terrible thing, I think, in life to wait until you're ready. I have this feeling now that actually no one is ever ready to do anything. There's almost no such thing as ready. There is only now, and you may as well do it now. Generally speaking, now is as good a time as any. And I really do believe that to be true, where if you just let the time pass, you never know in the next year what's going to come about that's going to then be another hurdle for you. I think it's almost this sneaky way of procrastinating because we're scared. But really, if you can just look at what are you really afraid of, and is that worth holding back on? Is that worth postponing your dream? Is that worth never going for this thing? Maybe we're scared of investing, but the truth is there's always a cost to not investing as well. There's a cost to staying where we are. There's a cost to not investing in the coach or the mentor, and to doing trial and error for a lot longer, and to investing money in things that may or may not work for a lot longer. And so I just always try and remember it in terms of almost the opportunity cost of, you might go out there and you might fail. We have a lot of episodes on what happens if you need to pivot, or you made the wrong choice, or you made the right choice for a season and now it's time for a change. But just that instinct of, you can trust yourself. You can trust your desires. Your desires are good. They're not things to contend with, to rearrange, to argue with, to fight, to resist. Your desires are good. Your desires are trying to lead you. They're the signposts guiding you on what is right for your life, I believe. I believe that when you get that feeling of, a lot, enlivenment, or where you're like, this is so fun, or something about this is calling to me, or I don't know why, it doesn't make sense logically, but this seems right. To me, that is the right path. Like, those are the things trying to capture your attention. And it's really just our brains we have to contend with that give us all kinds of stories for why it's wrong to have the desires we have, right? So that's kind of what I would offer you is you can, one, get clear on what you're excited about by flipping that coin, seeing what happens in the moment before it lands or after. And that can help clarify what you maybe do really want that you're not allowing yourself to want. I think then number 2, it's giving yourself the permission around what you want is good. You can trust your instincts around that. Your desires are guiding you. Your desires are from God or a higher power. Your desires are to be trusted. And then lastly, it's really that matter of like, if you did know deep down, what would you do? If no one was telling you, what would you do? Like, there is a part of you that truly does know deep down. And if you weren't afraid, what would you go for? What would you dream of? What would you build? What would you say yes to? What leap would you take, knowing that no matter what happens, like, you will figure it out. Even if it's a mistake, you'll figure it out. Even if it's the wrong investment, you'll figure it out. It's still part of your journey, and it's still going to serve you in one way, in a way you can't even see today. So that's really what I wanted to share with you. Permission to trust your instincts, to take the leap before you feel ready, to trust that you will, can, and absolutely always have figured it out no matter what has happened and what will happen in the future. So it's a long way of saying, get out there, go in the direction of your dreams, right? You don't have to have the whole thing planned out, but if you can see one step ahead or one thing that's going to get you a little closer, that may be your answer for today. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I hope this encourages you. If you could, leave a review. It helps the discoverability so much for this podcast and just helps grow this community of other big-hearted women who are out there getting over their fears, chasing their dreams, supporting each other, and building whatever their version of their brightest life is. Thank you so much for listening in. If you loved this episode, it would mean so much to me if you share it on Instagram stories and tag me so I can personally thank you for helping get the message out. I am so grateful to be on this journey with you. Until next time, talk to you soon.